Elliott?
Sure.
Clark is still in need of a film idea. I suggested that he do Zeno Phobia.
I think it would be great.
But if you could explain what the bit is.
Well, actually, it's very simple. There was an ancient Greek philosopher named Zeno, and his most famous contribution to the history of thought is Zeno's paradox. Zeno's paradox expressed in that if you shoot an arrow at a target, it first has to go half the distance to its target before it can go any further toward the target. Then, in the remaining distance between the arrowhead and the target, it has to go half the distance. So you continue and continue and continue, and thus, logically speaking, the target will never be hit by the arrow. The arrow can never reach its target because it always has to go halfway to the target. So much for that basic paradox. There's also a term called xenophobia, which means fear of strangers, fear of people who are not like yourself. And that, however, is spelled with an X. And so, in art, cinema, puzzlement tradition, you come up with a title like that, which could either be, boom, xenophobia, or first fade in on the Zeno, and then the phobia, so that the two would appear together, and you've given some clue to the audience that you know it isn't just a misspelling, for starters, to show that you're hip and to give clues to the audience. So my vision of this was simply, and I had it set up for a London location, but the best place I found for this central Ohio area would be the garden of the back of Monomoy Place. Essentially, and again I even have what I think would be music track here, which is the solo cello pieces by Bach that are used by also Ingmar Bergman in Through a Glass Darkly, and essentially it's the solo cello going na 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 dum dee da 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 dum dee, this kind of music. Essentially what happens is this. It is a film in which you set up a mise en scène. It's all shot MOS. There is a doorway here, and there's a clear pathway between something of some landmark over here and a doorway, and the background is as neutral and free of distractions as possible. The door as porchless as possible. So the idea is, and here's this crazy idea, for some reason Ron Price wearing yellow rubber boots, which I have to fit, wearing a yellow rubber slicker, which I have, and a yellow rubber slicker cap, which I have to fit, a black briefcase, not soft kind, but like an attaché case, with a large yellow, commercially made, from the hardware store, Z, the letter Z on the side, and is walking from this side of the frame, for starters in wide angle, to that doorway. Kind of a determinant, and the reason I thought I'd choose Ron Price, that he sort of looks like a cartoon character to me, and a kind of innocence, but essentially all you have him do is put his eye right to the door, he's just being Ron Price, and you say, okay, you start filming, and he comes into the frame, and he's walking, and he's walking, and the point is, when he gets exactly halfway into the frame, he disappears. This is synchronized with the da-da-da-da. He's just not there. Then you move in, and this is all based on Zeno, to the remaining half the distance, you see. And you've got certain little trees and pots and things so that the audience sees it as a landmark situation. We know we're now half the distance. And you actually are moving in on the framing as well. So that, again, Ron heading toward that door, halfway into the frame, the lockdown, he's gone. Third time, you frame in. He's getting closer, oh, I won't bore you with the details, but finally, he's got, in close-up, his finger, you see, right at the doorbell, and then it disappears, So what we've done is we've compressed in, and each time halfway, halfway, halfway. And my vision on how to end the thing is that it's just about the last most possible super heavy close-up of the finger in the doorbell. We quickly reestablish Turan at the doorway. The door swings open. A tall black nun in a white Sister of Mercy costume steps out onto the porch and shoots him dead with a revolver. And at this point, the complete structure, use the careful Zeno structure of disappearance, completely goes berserk and haywire. You have a shot breakdown of complete confusion in which he actually falls dead, clutching his bloody chest. The briefcase opens and dozens of little yellow Z's are spread out all over the place. The nun, having shot him, merely slams the door shut, and his body then slowly dissolves out on the same lockdown master shot with nobody there that we had seen at the very beginning of the movie. Anyway, that's a brief description. Zeno Phobia. The film begins with Zeno and it ends with a kind of a fear phobia. And, what it all means, I don't know, except that it is based on Zeno's paradox. Half the distance, half the distance, half the distance, half the distance. That's nice.